Welcome back into the Sean podcast. I'm myself, Big Ush. We got the Cat Daddy over here. And Cat Daddy, it's that victory, that taste of victory. How's it feel?
Feels pretty good. All I gotta say is you left 37 seconds on the clock, and that's too much for my boy Aaron. You left too much time.
I knew that. You got the text from me. What was it? It's time for Aaron Rodgers to do Aaron Rodgers type things.
Yeah. And I'm sitting over here.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Because we're just happy our teams won, and also our fantasy teams won. We had a pretty good weekend. But getting to the first game that happened last week, the Panthers and Texans, and it turned out how we thought it was going to turn out. Actually, I thought Davis Mills played better than I thought he was going to do. But it still turned out with a Panthers win. Now, there was some unfortunate news to come out of that game. What's that unfortunate news, Sean?
Oh, Christian McCaffrey had to exit the game going into the medical tent in the second quarter, and he was ruled out. It looked like a hamstring injury. So, unfortunate thing for McCaffrey. Head coach Matt Rule does not think that McCaffrey has to be on the IR, which would keep him out for a minimum of 3 weeks. But it does look like McCaffrey is going to miss some time. So that's part one. Part two is later in the game. The Panthers lost starting defensive back J.C. Horn.
That's the rough one.
What looks like broken bones in his foot.
I saw 2 to 3 months.
Yep, 2 to 3 months.
Possibly,
he is going to be missed.
Possibly could be back for the playoffs. But as a result, they did make a big trade this week.
Yes, they did. With their lack of depth at cornerback, they made a trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars where they acquired C.J. Henderson, who was trying to get out of Jacksonville. So C.J. Henderson goes to Carolina. Carolina, in return, is sending tight end Dan Arnold to Jacksonville because Jacksonville's a little bit light at tight ends. Yeah. And then they're swapping some picks. I think it's like a 5th and a 7th that they're swapping.
I thought it was a 3rd and a 5th.
That might have been it too. There were prime numbers. That's all I know.
Good for Carolina. They got a top 10 pick from just 2 years ago. It probably will take them a bit to get acclimated. So, I'm happy that Dallas plays them before that happens. It's just an interesting series of events, and Carolina's a better team than what we thought so far. Matt Rule doing some good things.
He is. They're looking good, but I kind of question what the Panthers are going to look like without McCaffrey for a few weeks. But we'll talk about that later.
We'll see. All right, next up, the Washington football team went into Buffalo and got stomped. This game wasn't nearly as close as it looked. Washington had a couple fluke plays, one really good long play from Antonio Gibson, but other than that, they didn't really do much. I mean, Tyler, what is it, Heineke?
Yes, it is.
He looked like what he looks like. He can do some things, but ultimately he's limited. Like, he's not terrible, and he can manage to make plays, but he's not going to basically make your team anything special.
Taylor Heineke is
Taylor. That's it.
Heineke, we thought he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you know who came back? Who came back to life this game?
Who?
Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen's looking good.
3 for 350. 4 touchdown passes, even scrambled in for a 5th score in the day. Like, he had a slow start, but this is Allen that
things happen.
Buffalo expected, that I expected, that the fantasy world expected.
Things happen. You find a play to win in other ways. That Pittsburgh game, anomaly, week 1 type stuff, considering how Pittsburgh's been playing. Now, moving on. This game, All right, we probably gonna take a little bit for this one. So the Chicago Bears go to Cleveland and have zero plan on how to play the Cleveland Browns. Zero.
They
plan.
had less than zero planned. They had less
Like,
than that.
I told people 2 years ago, did I not? Was I not screaming 2 years ago that Matt Nagy had no clue what he was doing on offense? That he's outthinking himself, that his offensive design is nonsense, and he was ruining Mitchell Trubisky. And everybody's like, no, Mitchell Trubisky's limited. And, maybe he is. I thought he had very bad footwork, which the coaching staff wasn't even trying to fix. And lo and behold, now everybody thinks that Matt Nagy has no clue and his play design is no good because he couldn't design for Justin Fields, who I do think is superior talent to Mitchell Trubisky, but very similar in the same regard. And he did not set Mitchell Trubisky up, Justin Fields up to succeed here. He set him up to fail. And yeah, I get it. He did set up some quick passes, but your team is not built for that. You do not have the wide receivers. The one wide receiver that you had that was built for that, you shipped him out so that Green Bay could get Aaron Rodgers back in the door. So, Anthony Miller was the only guy set up to do what would have helped them in this particular game. Allen Robinson's not a guy for separation and route running. He's a back shoulder type guy. And Cleveland was keying on that. Darnell Mooney, proven that he needs time. And this offensive line ain't built for that. Jason Peters is washed. Myles Garrett wrecked them. There's a clip out there where Myles Garrett literally teleports from one side of the guard to another and through the hole. Like, literally, the guy who posted it said, I did not edit this. This is what happened. And it literally looks like he skips a frame.
This is why Myles Garrett was the number one draft pick a couple years back. Because of this skill, this ability. Now, you're absolutely right. Matt Nagy did nothing to help Justin Fields. And part of me, like the conspiracy theorist part of me, is thinking,
You think he did on purpose?
Was this a sabotage? Because what better way to help hold on to whatever chance the job you got?
Say he's not ready.
He just wasn't up to speed. We know we limited with the play calls because, blah, 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 whatever excuse you want to throw out to Ryan Pace and the owner. But you're thinking Matt Nagy did nothing. Absolutely nothing to help Justin Fields.
Zero.
First half, Justin Fields got off to a good start. I think he was 2 for 2 for 20 yards, his first two passes. He finished the game 6 of 20, 68 yards passing. Now, if we're talking net yardage, he only had one net passing yard because he lost 67 yards on all 9 sacks that he had taken.
But even with that, let's look at that. They had 20 dropbacks, right? And I got this from
they had more dropbacks because Justin Fields tried to scramble.
But all right, but they had 20 pure dropbacks. 13 of those dropbacks were 5-man protections.
Yeah, Matt Nagy was not making any changes, and it's all because he's the one calling the offensive plays.
You don't do that with a rookie quarterback.
Where was the tight ends adding in a hip on Myles Garrett or even Jadeveon Clowney? Where was the chip in? Where was where were the screen passes? Where were the draw plays to help at least make the defense think you're going to do something else besides kill your rookie quarterback?
You got all these tight ends and you can't run a tight end screen.
Now, did Justin Fields play the best game? No. I'm going to be in Justin Fields' corner on this one because when I have Myles Garrett coming on one side and Jadeveon Clowney coming from the other side, I'm going to try and get the ball out of there in about 2 seconds. Because you saw those passes. He was just throwing those balls as fast as he could to whatever receiver was right in front of him.
But
I get it. I would have been doing the same thing.
But to finish this off, the 1 year that Mitchell Trubisky was good or look good in Matt Nagy's offense, what did they do? They did bootlegs. They rolled out. They moved the pocket. They did screens. They did draws. They did all this stuff we were just talking about. What happened where Matt Nagy decided he didn't need to do that with any quarterback? That's where I want to leave it there. I want to pose that question to my Bear fan buddies because, let me know. Let me know what I'm missing. Maybe I'm too dumb of a football fan to see what the mad genius Matt Nagy is trying to do.
Yeah, but at least the Bears' defense looked pretty good going against.
Yeah, Robert Quinn showed up.
Robert Quinn. I thought the Bears' defense, their performance was overshadowed by Cleveland, but it was also overshadowed by the fact that Chicago's defense seemed to be on the field just about every single minute of that game. Can you imagine how tired those guys were at the end?
Major.
No wonder Cleveland's ripping off these big runs in the second half, these big plays. Your defense is gassed. What do you got? It's still a close game. It's still a 2 to 3 possession game, so you're thinking, got to keep the starters in there. But this game was this is not a 2 to 3 possession game. Score doesn't no justice to what that game looked like. But that defense, they played well up until the point where they were just physically exhausted.
All right, but moving on. We've spent a lot of time on this. Let's get to this weird game. The Ravens went to Detroit, and Detroit was trying to step up to the plate. Lamar did throw for a bit, but the Lions stopped that run a lot better than a lot of people would thought they would did, myself included, because I picked Tyshawn Williams in a different segment, a different pod. And it took them not getting a delay of game penalty and a record-breaking field goal for the Ravens to win this game. What are your thoughts on this game, Sean?
I got two thoughts. One, Justin Tucker has ice running through his veins. A 66-yarder to win the game. Does anything become more clutch than that? I don't think it does. But the second part is that kick never should have happened.
Nope.
Should have loved that. I get it when the play clock runs down and it hits 0. Sometimes we see the ball snapped afterward, and there's no call for it.
No, there was a couple.
In all the times I've seen it, the ball was snapped a lot quicker than what we saw in Detroit, because it seemed like the clock hit 0, and then we waited a second. And then we nearly waited another second for the ball to get snapped. I can understand why Detroit's upset, because that really should have been pushed back 5 yards. There's no way that Justin Tucker was going to make a 71-yard field goal. He barely made the 66. So Detroit is probably the best team that hasn't gotten a win yet. With how hard they've been playing for Dan Campbell, this was a victory that they should have had, and Dan Campbell said it best. I'm going to paraphrase. I don't want an apology from the league. Let's just move on. Because they can't change anything. What good does the apology from the league do? It doesn't reflect in the score. It doesn't reflect in the win-loss column. It's just the ref saying, yep, we effed up big time. But that should have been Dan Campbell's first victory.
Should. But moving on from that one, going to this Colts Titans game, there's a little bit to go through here. First part of this is, are the Colts one of the worst teams in the NFL? I mean, even with, Mr. Glass they're playing, like, it looks like they could make plays, but, like, there's something that's wrong here. Or am I wrong about this?
They call me Mr. Glass.
I don't know.
Indianapolis. Yeah, something's missing. I think it might be the injuries to the offensive line. I think it might be that Carson Wentz is not the quarterback who everybody thought he was going to be when he got traded to Indianapolis, reuniting with Frank Reich. I think that may have been over-exaggerated, or they may
Maybe.
have overestimated his ability. Maybe Philadelphia had the right idea. Maybe Philadelphia's like, he's
Well, we'll get to
pretty wild.
Philadelphia.
Yeah. Yeah. But what's going right for Indianapolis? I know they had a lot of injuries during the offseason.
Quentin Nelson got
And I
carded in this game.
Got injured again. Yeah.
Kwity Paye, Rocky Asim both were out of this game. But I mean, at the other side, A.J. Brown went out in the first quarter and got ruled out.
Yeah. Indianapolis is not looking as good as we thought they would, which really hurts me because a long, long time they're going to land very far away.
We're allowed to be wrong.
We are. I called that Indianapolis was going to go back to the playoffs. At that point, I didn't know who was going to be the quarterback.
Division in football. We're talking about the worst division in football. I don't care what people on the talking head shows say. This is the worst division in football, and we're throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Oh, it starts with an S. Yes. That division. Yeah.
Any thoughts on this one before we move on?
Oh man, I want to see what the Colts do with Carson Wentz, because they have that trade to Philadelphia, and if Indianapolis makes the playoffs,
You think
then the conditional pick becomes a first rounder. Now, right now, Indianapolis is 0-3. I know this is now a 17-game season. I doubt there's going to be an 0-3 team making the
eligible
playoffs.
to come back.
What's that?
Sam Ellinger could be eligible to come back.
He could be, but the big thing is in Wentz playing time. If he plays over 75% of the offense, he's a first rounder for Philadelphia. So if you're Indianapolis and you keep losing games, what are you going to do with Carson Wentz?
All right, let's get into,
I would bench him to save my first round pick. I'm going to put that out there right now. I'd bench him, save my first.
Let's get into more of these games because we're going a little long on things. The Saints and the Patriots. Saints went into New England. It is a new day. The Saints went into New England and dominate the Patriots. This was not as close as it looked. Mac Jones did make some plays, but he looked like a rookie. And sad James White went down. He got carted off. Jameis didn't look awesome, but he was serviceable again, even though he did some Jameis type things. And Kamara was really awesome. And that defense looked good. Any thoughts on this one?
New Orleans defense, I think, is underrated. It is quietly productive, which is good for New Orleans, especially when your offense is a little questionable. Mac Jones, he played a decent game, right? He's playing, I think, better than you would expect a rookie to play. He's certainly been playing better than all of the other rookies in the league. And the shame
I don't necessarily agree. I think he had been, but I think this particular week, there's a different rookie that played better than him, even though he still did not play well. And Davis Mills probably was the best one, but yeah, this is another guy that I just think he's in bad positions personally. But go ahead.
Yeah, Mac Jones threw 2 interceptions, his first interception of the year, but guess what? They weren't really his fault. Right?
One wasn't his fault.
One was tipped. Yeah, well, the other one, yeah.
Kind of, But one definitely wasn't. I mean, Jonnu Smith is probably one of the most gross overpays of the year.
But we kind of expected that, though, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, other than that, there's not much else unless you want to talk about the Saints.
Jameis Winston.
Still settling in.
Production.
Still settling in.
His production was similar to more like week 1 than it was week 2. He wasn't asked to do much, right? Sean Payton's like, you know what? We're not going to chuck the ball around. Just manage the game for me. And Winston did that. He didn't make mistakes.
Right. He almost
Although
did.
that one touchdown to Marquez Callaway
was
an interception.
One of them, crap
a lot
plays.
of things.
But I mean, let's be honest. We won't really know what Jamie's is made of until around week 8 or so, when, if and when Michael Thomas comes back. So the next game, Battle of the Awful. we got the Falcons going into East Rutherford to play the Giants. And, the Falcons got out of that with a win. How?
There really was no true win to this game because whoever won this game really just hurt their chances at the draft. You think they both go into the game 0-2.
This was probably the worst game of the week. Like, it was bad. I ain't got much to say about this game unless you want to talk about it. I really don't.
Let me check some notes. Let's see. We had Matty Ice leading the comeback.
Matty Bad.
Matty Bad, yeah. He made so many mistakes. There should have been more interceptions. There's interceptions there. A strip sack. He fumbled at the end of the first half. Adoree Jackson dropped an interception.
Yep, saw that.
Right. Man, there's really not a lot to like about this game. There really isn't. Saquon Barkley was kind of looking like his old self out there, which is nice. But besides that, it's like this was an ugly game.
So moving on then. We're going to continue down the road of backwards land. The Saints go into New England and take down the Patriots, and then the Bengals go into Pittsburgh and dominate the Steelers. What is going on in the world?
Well, if you saw Pittsburgh play, it makes full sense. Ben Roethlisberger looks nothing like the Ben Roethlisberger
Noodle
years ago. He looks nothing like the quarterback who led Pittsburgh to several Super Bowls. He looks like a hollowed, statuesque, noodle-armed version of himself. That's what he was out there.
Sean, he threw 19 passes to Najee Harris.
That shows exactly what's wrong with this. The offensive line was so bad that Najee Harris had, 14 carries for 50 yards? Something.
Right.
It was something small and
receptions
pedestrian.
For 102 yards. What in the world?
When you're targeting Najee Harris 19 times a game, that means there's a lot wrong. And I don't know if it's Pittsburgh had a couple of receivers out, but I think it's more of Ben Roethlisberger couldn't get off throws with power or accuracy, because from what I was watching, he was missing wide receivers left and right. Like, it wasn't close. He was missing. He was like out there with a blindfold on, just whipping this ball around. So you're thinking Najee Harris is going to be those short intermediate routes, and maybe that's what Ben Roethlisberger can do. But you really got to sit back and think, did you really make the right decision in the draft when you picked Najee Harris in the first round and Pat Freiermuth in the second round, considering that you need a quarterback and you need offensive line help? Now, Chicago jumped from number 20 all the way up, and they traded with New York to get Justin Fields. Mac Jones fell several picks further. Pittsburgh was picking at number 24. It is very reasonable that Pittsburgh could have made a package and a deal to jump up in the draft and select either Justin Fields or Mac Jones, anyone who had gotten out of the top end. Yeah, I think, are they kind of kicking themselves right now, thinking maybe we should have pulled the trigger, maybe we should have explored that a little bit more?
We just want to say we're
quote
not
unquote
poo-pooing.
best of his life.
We just want to say we're not poo-pooing on Najee Harris or Pat Freiermuth.
Not
Those
at all.
They're really good football players. It's just team building is what we're knocking the Steelers for. It's poor planning and poor team building is what it is. You need to prioritize certain things over certain things. Offensive line, quarterback, running back, tight end. Some of these are easier to find than others.
Yeah, if Pittsburgh was a playoff-bound team and Roethlisberger still performing well, then yeah, get Harris, get Freiermuth, make it happen. But when we saw Ben Roethlisberger at the end of last year, this is just a continuation of that.
Right,
Yeah,
but
there was a
they
good
don't
game
have
against
the
Buffalo.
offensive line from 2016 either.
Even if they did, do you think Ben Roethlisberger is really putting the power and the accuracy behind those passes?
You are fair. You are fair there. Yeah. But moving on from this one to one of the most entertaining games of the weekend, we had the Chargers go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs, pushing the Chiefs to last in their division through the month of September. Explain to me, Sean. We're still in backwards world.
We are in backwards land. You think coming into this year, Patrick Mahomes had not only thrown 0 interceptions in the month of September, but in his professional career, he has not lost a single game in the month of September. Sports.
Something had to give.
He has lost 2 consecutive games this year in September.
All right, here's the thing.
I don't think it's.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't think it's necessarily Patrick Mahomes' fault. Now, the first interception he threw where he tried the no-look pass.
That's what I was about to poo-poo on.
A no-look pass in that situation. You didn't need to do that. That was just showing off. That was just getting fancy, right? That was unnecessary.
Unnecessary.
That you should have been looking at your receiver because, from what I can recall, there wasn't really anybody around him. There wasn't a need to fake out the defense with a no-look pass.
Wide open.
And it seems like
wide open.
Little gambles are starting to catch up with Kansas City. Like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes had some luck. And now it's like that luck seems to be running out where those plays that you're making, those gunslinger plays, you're not getting the same outcome that you were last year or years
Those aren't
before.
gunslinger plays. That's just being cocky. Brett Favre was a gunslinger, and Brett Favre would toss it up. But Brett Favre never got cocky like that. Every play Brett Favre did was to make sure he made a completion or to make a play. It wasn't just to be a little prick to the defense. I'm just saying.
And then Clyde Edward-Helaire. You get a buddy.
What's his name? Tyreek Hill fumbled also.
Oh man, yeah, turnovers. I don't know if it's
they come in bunches.
Their concentration. I don't know if they come in, but hey, Patrick Mahomes, he's not got to respect Justin Herbert for that win.
But let's give some respect. Let's put some respect on Justin Herbert's name. Everybody wanted to. I saw him play last week. Regardless if they lost, Justin Herbert got my mad respect. That dude can throw. And Mike Williams. Let's talk about that dude. That dude is legit. Now, one of these Clemson receivers showing he can play.
He pulled off a win last year against Kansas City, didn't he? Because I think that's one of the highlights of that where he came down with like a game-winning touchdown. So, Mike Williams, he's got that number. He's got the number. Justin Herbert's looking good.
Yeah. So moving on from this one, we're going to go to another surprising, well, not necessarily surprising team. This is a team everybody thought was going to do something, but until they do it, you don't really believe it. It's one of those teams, you know what I'm saying? And the Arizona Cardinals beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars showed some fight, though. Honestly, maybe Urban stuff is, slowly settling in because even though they're losing, we know they're going to lose a lot. They've got a very bad roster. We know this. But they're showing more fight than other teams and one that we're going to talk about next. Trevor Lawrence is showing improvements, but it almost looks like Urban's telling Trevor, you know something? Just go out there and sling it. Take your lumps. We're not going to win. So if you throw an interception, throw an interception. Just, get out there and learn what you can learn and, try to make plays. What do you think? Oh, on the other side, Kyler's still doing Kyler things. The Cardinals are playing very well. And does AJ Green? No, it's not 2012.
Well, I hope people playing fantasy football know it's not 2012, and this AJ Green is bound for regression. So hopefully they know that. But yeah, Arizona came away with the Jacksonville, made it seem much closer than it really should have been, much closer than I thought it was going to be.
Played hard.
Yeah, I get it. You got Urban saying, "Hey, Trevor, just sling it. Learn. You gotta learn by experience, trial by fire." I get it. But Trevor Lawrence knows better than to throw a ball off of his back foot.
Yeah, at the same time,
He knows
these rookies do not.
better.
These rookies do not. All rookies. Hell, some veterans do this nonsense.
There didn't even seem to be much power behind that throw. Like, I get if you're going off the back foot and you arm into it. But Trevor Lawrence just thought, hey, there's no defender anywhere near the area. And Byron Murphy's like, hey, this is going to be really easy for me. And it's like he didn't put any power behind the throw. He just kind of lofted it up there, expecting his receiver to be the only one in the area, the vicinity, to catch the ball. Dead wrong. Right. Turned into a pick six. Trevor Lawrence knows better than that.
I once saw Tom Brady, and this isn't early Tom Brady, this is later Tom Brady, throw a pass where he was almost on his butt, and it was intercepted. It was against the Miami Dolphins. So things happen. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying Trevor Lawrence is going to take his lumps. I think that it's speeding up, but again, it's a bad roster. We can agree with that, right? This is a bad roster.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville's offensive line is just a little bit better than Chicago's offensive line. Could be a good or a bad thing. You got these rookie quarterbacks out there, and you're putting them behind some porous and atrocious offensive lines. Like, how are you expecting your rookie quarterback to hold up? Because my mind goes all the way back to David Carr, Houston Texans. He got pummeled his rookie year. He sacked, what was it, like, I can't remember the number. I'm going to throw a number out there, but he was sacked just about every other play.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot. It was like 56 or something like that.
And what does that do to a player, to a rookie and his development going forward? What does that do for a player and his career when you can't run him with enough talent?
See, I'm not even going to jump on that because you got to be mentally tough. Look what happened to Peyton Manning and Troy Aikman.
Now, I think Peyton Manning for sure is the outlier. Because, yes, you put Peyton Manning because he is so intelligent. He is so cerebral that Peyton Manning needed all of that, and he took advantage of all of that.
Troy Aikman?
Troy Aikman. Now, I didn't watch the game as closely when Troy Aikman was playing.
2 wins.
So it's not fair for me to say whether Troy Aikman did or not.
2 wins, and he got his butt kicked the whole year. Anyways, moving on to somebody who also is getting his butt kicked. We're going to move on from that game because the Cardinals are the Cardinals. And the Jets go to Colorado, where you be staying in Denver. You're a little bit out of Denver, but... And I guess that altitude must have got to them because they didn't score a single point.
Something got to them, yeah. The Denver defense did.
Zach Wilson's still looking rough. Here's the thing. Where I thought Justin Fields' situation was bad, I didn't think I could see a worse situation until I looked at the Jets. He's got better receivers, but the game plan's just as bad. Honestly, like, there's better weapons. I know Becton went down, but I still think the offensive line is better than Chicago. It's the game plan. The game plan is atrocious for this team for a rookie quarterback. And they're also not tending to his strengths. People talked about what's his strength, making plays off platform, doing things on the move. Where are his designed QB runs? Where are the bootlegs?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? And you would think that this guy would know how to do that coming from a Kyle Shanahan offense tree. What is, again, explain, Sean, explain.
I had my hesitations and my concerns about Zach Wilson early on. He looked good in the preseason. But again, I think at that time I was saying, these are all scripted plays. He knows what he's going out there and doing. He has a list of plays. They run through the players because he's comfortable with them. He looks good. He's throwing the ball to Corey Davis just about every other time. So, yeah, you looked good. You were playing maybe a couple first-string defenders, but mostly as like seconds. Occasional third thrown in there. And I was really curious, what would Zach Wilson look like when an actual game came around? A full 4 quarters going against number 1 defense. And that was my big reservation for him, is I don't think he's going to be as good as what he showed in the preseason, because he looked like a preseason all-star out there.
Right.
This Zach Wilson, and this goes for the rest of this rookie quarterback class. Did we overestimate how good this class was?
No.
Or how good this class would be, at least right away?
No. Here's the thing. You have to be able to scheme for a rookie quarterback. Not everybody can be Justin Herbert and come out and just go like fire. Joe Burrow, last year before he got hurt, had scheme things to help him out. He also had weapons. I know they drafted Elijah Moore, but the Bears did absolutely nothing to help their offense. The Jacksonville Jaguars did absolutely. Well, no, they did. They did. He got injured before the season even started. So I can't blame them almost too much. But the roster's bad. Urban knew he had to build that up. The Patriots, they tried, but at the same time, their offensive line it's kind of rough. It's going to be rough sledding. It's going to be rough sledding for some of these guys because they went to legit bad teams.
Well, that's what happens in the draft, right? Who gets the higher draft pick? The team with the worst record. Unless there's a thrown in there, you're thinking the best talent in college goes to the worst team in the NFL.
And it's looking like these guys that we thought were offensive geniuses going to these other teams aren't offensive geniuses. The Matt Nagy's, is it Mike LaFleur? Because You guys got Matt. Yeah. So the Mike LaFleurs. We thought Jacksonville was going to have problems. So,
Oh, yeah, we knew that.
So, but it's just some of these guys may not be. And come on now. Whoever thought that Mac Jones wasn't going to struggle considering the offensive scheme he was going into, which is a complicated scheme. It's a Josh McDaniels scheme. So let's pump the brakes on saying it wasn't that good, and let's just go with the fact that, sometimes players need to develop.
They do. Fully agree with that. On the other side, Denver's looking pretty good.
Was that? Oh, Denver?
Denver is looking good. No.
The reason why Denver's looking pretty good is, here's the thing. I'm a Teddy B. I'm a Teddy B truther over here. Everybody wants to talk about how Teddy B is limited. Teddy B is, you know what Teddy B is? And unfortunately, you want to say this, fair enough. But he may be a Chad Pennington type guy. You know something that Chad Pennington did? He went to the playoffs multiple times. And he didn't have the weapons that Teddy B's got right now. If Chad Pennington had those weapons, he probably would have went further. You get a competent quarterback who can make very good throws without making mistakes, you can have a good team and they have a good defense. Nothing's wrong with that. I actually had no real issue with what Denver was doing per se. I just didn't understand the whole thing going doing the competition with Drew Lock, because if you're trading for Teddy Bridgewater, you're giving up on Drew Lock. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, and thinking back, there really should have been no question who was going to be the starting quarterback week 1, because George Payton was in Minnesota when the Vikings had drafted Teddy Bridgewater.
Right.
He was in the front office when Denver traded for Bridgewater, so there really should have been no question there about that. Writing was on the wall for Drew Lock. But
moving on. We got the Dolphins heading to shiny Las Vegas. It's a pretty stadium, it really is. to go against the Raiders, and they made this a close one. Went to overtime, but the Raiders come out with it in the end. Derek Carr continues his MVP bid. Dolphins, I mean, Brian Flores still shows that he's a dang good coach. I feel bad for the Dolphins because QB gets hurt, and same issues, different year.
Yeah, Miami made this game closer than it should have been. Jacoby Brissett looked like a seasoned veteran out there, not some guy who's been playing second string for a few years. And it kind of makes you wonder, why did Indianapolis get rid of Jacoby Brissett? He's a very capable backup quarterback, and you wouldn't feel pressured into putting Carson Wentz out there if you had somebody like Jacoby Brissett playing quarterback. But, you know, he's in Miami now. That was quite the play. What was it? 2 seconds left. Goal line, 4th down, going for the quarterback's sneak. Man, Jacoby Brissett looked good out there.
All right. So let's speed through these next two, even though one of them we won't want to, because let's get to the last two, which we're going to want to talk a little bit because going a little long. So we have the Bucs heading out to LA to get stomped by LA. And I know they was throwing the ball, which I was always very happy for my fantasy team, but they had no shot at the end of this game. The Rams at one point were in clear control, and they handled the Bucs, and that's just what it is. That's what I got for you for that one. You have any thoughts before we move on to Seattle?
Yeah, Tampa Bay was missing a few people, right? They're missing 2 of their top 3 cornerbacks, which made Matt Stafford's job a little bit easier. They were missing Antonio Brown, offensive weapon. Gronkowski went out with an injury. I want to see these 2 teams play again in the playoffs. You don't want to see that?
No, unless they're playing in the divisional round.
Right. I didn't say the conference champion because that's going to be Green Bay and Dallas, obviously. But like the wild card round, divisional round.
Yeah, that works.
Playoffs. I want to see these 2 teams going against each other. I want to see a rematch of this because I don't think we're going to have the same outcome.
All right, now Seattle goes to Minnesota, and Minnesota puts a beat down on Seattle. My only question is, Seattle bad team?
Dare I say Seattle's overrated?
They're last in their division.
I think there may be the changing of the guard coming with the NFC West. Gone are the years where Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson are dominating.
Seriously. Defensive wise, awful. And they could use somebody who's in a different state right now. Just saying. But and then offensively, they look lost. To be honest.
New offensive coordinator. You expect some bumps in the road, a little bit of I wouldn't say a struggle. That's not the right word, but you're expecting some time to get really in sync. But
I know outside of starters.
Yeah, outside of Russell Wilson throwing 60-yard touchdown passes to Tyler Lockett, we're not seeing the same Seattle offense.
All right, now next game, I'm gonna give you. Go ahead, take the show. Green Bay.
Yep, we're just gonna take a few moments with this.
The West Coast to Aaron Rodgers' home for a close one against San Fran.
It was close, but I think that was to be expected. I wasn't expecting a blowout. I didn't think the double-digit lead would hold on for as long as it did. San Francisco came back with Trey Lance rushing for a touchdown at the end of the first half. And for Jimmy Garoppolo, that's a good thing because if San Francisco goes into half without scoring a single point, I think Kyle Shanahan's really got to consider a change at quarterback when they go out for the second half, considering how much they're down by. So Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy Garoppolo got really lucky. and he made the most of the opportunity. He was leading San Francisco back. Now we're going to fast forward to like the final minute of the fourth quarter. You're trailing. You're going for a touchdown. You are in kill the clock mode, right? You want to have the ball when the game ends. You want to put the ball in your hands. You don't want to give the ball back. So the mistake that Jimmy Garoppolo had made was on that touchdown play to Kyle Juszczyk. Jimmy Garoppolo snapped the ball when there's 12 seconds left on the play clock. That is an egregious error.
Bad.
That means instead of Aaron Rodgers having 37 seconds, Aaron Rodgers would have had 25 seconds. How much of a difference would that have made? I don't know why Jimmy Garoppolo snapped the ball and there was 12 seconds left on the play clock. Unless he saw something where the defense just wasn't ready, they were out of place, he wanted to take advantage of it. Maybe that's why he snapped the ball early. I don't know, but that was an error. Kyle Juszczyk, hey, maybe you fall down at the 1 yard line. Right? You don't have to go into the end zone at that point because there's still nearly 40 seconds left at that point. You can give yourself several chances, but you got to go for the score. You got to, I mean, you're thinking San Francisco is playing the odds. We got to score here when you go up a point, and then now we're giving Aaron Rodgers the ball back with 37 seconds left. No timeouts. Hey, strategy-wise, it's probably not the worst decision that San Francisco made on Sunday.
No, it was. You know why? Here's the thing. Actually, it's not the worst decision strategy-wise when it came to offense. Defense, they had the worst strategy ever. You know why I'm saying this?
Oh, you go first. I'll go after.
There is one guy I am not letting get the ball. There's literally one guy, maybe two.
Just one.
One of them wears, what is that, 17?
That is a big 1-7 on the chest.
17? And then there's 33. Those two guys.
They're 17.
17 is the main one. And then 33 is my secondary guy. All those other guys you can buck up one-on-one. But 17 needs to be bracketed the heck out of him.
It was
y'all left him wide open in the middle of the field. You played zone,
and it wasn't just
in the middle of the field.
And it wasn't just they threw the ball to him once. Davante Adams had two huge receptions during the final drive, and Fred Warner was extremely close to getting a hand on the ball for that first one. So he was just about in the right place. Godden stopped him bound, but that second throw. That second completion to Davante Adams, San Francisco should have known this ball is going to one person. This ball is going to Davante Adams because he is the most reliable receiver. And in that situation, you're going to the most reliable receiver. I would have had 2, maybe 3 people on Davante Adams. But they didn't. He catches it. They are in field goal range. They spike the ball. Mason Crosby comes in, kicks a dramatic game winner. Not quite as dramatic as Justin Tucker, but Green Bay walks away with the victory. Aaron Rodgers gets yet another revenge on San Francisco for passing on him number 1 in the draft.
Yep.
But man, you knew the ball was going to Davante Adams.
Nonsense.
You knew it. And you left too much time on the clock. That's too much time. 37 seconds, you're thinking minimal time. No, that's a lifetime.
Bracket that, man. Anyways, moving on to my game.
Your turn.
Moving on to Philly, coming into Dallas, and all these talking head nonsense people saying that Philly was going to pull the upset. Game ended 41-21. It was not that close. Let's be honest.
No.
It was not that close. There was a touchdown that should be on the board. Yes, outright saying that QB sneak should have been on the board. The Zach Ertz touchdown shouldn't have been on the board because your boy Devonta Smith ran up and literally pushed Malik Hooker for an offensive PI that wasn't called. But I ain't gonna get into the rest right now. I'm feeling good. I do want to say something, considering all the nonsense that someone likes to say when he's on this pod and everything that was building up to the draft. And I'm going to embrace the Bama on Bama crime that was committed because it was my favorite play in this whole game. How about you put some respect on that name? Because somebody dominated. I mean, straight dominated your boy all game long. What was that?
Hey. Just like the rookie quarterbacks are in there taking lumps, you have your other positional players out there taking their lumps.
Oh, is Jamar Chase taking his lumps? Just on it?
Well, he did during the preseason, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, this ain't the preseason. You need to show up in these regular season games. And Trayvon wasn't having it. But, I mean, I think there's a lot of solidness to this game. The thing that even makes me a little bit more happy about this game, Dallas played a sloppy game, in my opinion. I don't even think they played, like, a really great game. And they still blew them out. I don't know if that says more about Philly or more about Dallas, but dang.
Yeah, it might be Philly. It might. I mean, Dallas looked good out.
And I mean, Philly was the one that was looking the best out of the division.
There. Nope.
What I
say about Jalen Hurts last week? I was saying that he's going to play as well as protecting Brandon Brooks out. Your left tackle's out. They lost another offensive lineman in this game. Jalen Hurts did not look like the 2021 version we saw in week 1. He's looking like the 2020 version. He's back to that.
Hey, can we give the Terminator some respect?
Calling him the Terminator now.
That's what he called himself. You didn't hear about that interview?
No.
He said Michael Parsons came into the interview. He's like Justin Herbert's was just the first. Jalen Hurts is next on the list. I'm trying to be the Terminator out there.
All right. Well, that's
scary.
Much better than Jalen Hurts.
Oh, the deuce?
Flush it down. Move on.
All right, but I'm not going to hold everything up on this one. Cowboys are 2-1. Moving on to Carolina. Eagles, I'm not trying to really disrespect the Eagles. I'm just saying, back to the drawing board for y'all. Y'all might need a new QB. Because one thing I did notice that happened quite a bit, the scheme did not match Jalen Hurts. There was multiple times with multiple men downfield when he was trying to throw screen passes and stuff like that. And it's just like, whatever the coach's name, I can't pronounce it, I'm sorry. Bobby Green Eyes, whatever your name is.
Nick Sirianni.
Jalen Hurts is going to hold the ball. You can't call screen passes with a QB that literally is going to hold the ball. Think a new strategy, bud. All right. Moving on to words of wisdom. Sean, your words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. Hey, watch your browser history, okay? I read a report that the International Monetary Fund wants to change the credit score a little bit, or instead of just payment history, they want to also look at your web browser history when determining credit scores. So some of y'all need to clean it up.
That's crazy.
Okay.
That's
Start
crazy.
working it.
All right. Looks like I may have lost Sean for a second. He gave you that watch your browser history.
Before it's got to do with what you...
What's that?
Nope, that's what I got.
Okay. All right. He came back. All right, mine. You know something? Just what I was ending with there. Be a good sport. You don't need to basically degrade the opponent. Nothing wrong with respecting your opponent. You don't have to be mean or vindictive or in someone's face. You can win with class.